Hey everyone, it's Sam, and I'm here live on Tuesday, July 5th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Pacific time in sunny San Diego, talking about Guru Purnima, the cycle of the full moon when it happens usually in Sagittarius in the month of Ashad. Full moon in the month of Ashad in the Hindu calendar is called Guru Purnima. July 13th is that Guru Purnima, but we're in that cycle now since the new moon that happened in Gemini. We are now in this cycle of Guru Purnima, where it's really a time to evolve and learn, and in very specific ways, because this one I'm going to talk about in this video is that Jupiter is named Guru in Sanskrit, and Guru is teacher. It gives us the gravitas. He's the big planet that allows us to sink down into the source of knowledge, the true weight, the true weighty teachings that, again, that root and underpin the foundation of your entire existence. That's what Guru really is. For those who have a guru, even if you don't have a guru, you are following teachings. So people say, I don't have a guru. Can I find a guru? Yes, you do. You probably have many gurus, but maybe your guru is capitalism or this politician or this worldview, materialism, or you're following some teachings that are grounding you and rooting you and giving your life some kind of meaning and some kind of purpose. That's actually what guru is. What is your, the teachings and the philosophies and the activities, or, that lead you forward in life and give your life a sense of meaning and purpose. And so it's better when they are actually connected to a great teaching, and perhaps even a living guru in a body, for example, is said to be the highest blessing. But that's what we're going to be talking about. And right now, in fact, Jupiter, or Guru, is in Pisces, the sign that he rules. So this particular Guru Purnima is very auspicious because Guru is in Meena, or Pisces, which is the sign he rules. So a very auspicious, powerful time now to evolve and learn. So we're going to get into that. Before I do, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell on YouTube to get notified of new videos and live streams. Again, all platforms that you're on, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or other places too, Instagram and other places, please, again, like, share, and subscribe. And I'm actually putting together, I have a class where I'm going to be talking about this for all 12 signs, this Jupiter in Pisces. I just dropped the link. Again, because this is so important, this cycle now, this cycle of Jupiter in Pisces, to really understand what this means for everyone. Again, it just started in April, and Jupiter is going to be in Pisces until next April. So it's a huge benefit for us all now to have Jupiter in Pisces and really learn the source of true wisdom. So again, go to this website there and just register for, it's a free web class, but I take a long time, and I really go over, as I say, Jupiter in Pisces for you and all 12 signs. So for example, if you're a Virgo, that's happening in your 7th house. If you're Aries, it's happening in your 12th house. What that means. Also, a recent history lesson of Jupiter in Pisces. We can really learn a lot about where we're going based on where we've been. And then again, Jupiter as the ruler of Pisces and Sagittarius. So, one thing, people understand the signs really well. Sometimes they don't really understand the planets as well. So we can really understand a lot about the planets through understanding their signs as well. And then Jupiter as the karaka, or the indicator of things like children and gurus, how those things are related, and so much more. So just go to that link that I put in the comments. This will also be in the live video, or once the video is posted, and check that out. So what we're going to be doing today is mainly looking at this screen right here. This is the chart of the Guru Purnima, the full moon on July 13th. Again, it's a little more than a week away. So right now, as I'm recording this, the moon is over here in Virgo, and then he's going to keep moving until he goes through Sagittarius, and then at about 27 degrees, he's exactly opposite with the Purnima. But this last day, so when the moon is from about 14 degrees to about 26, 27 degrees, that's the Purnima, that's the full moon. So when you look up in the sky that day, the moon will be bright, very bright and full in the sky, and you'll be looking back into the center of our galaxy, because Sagittarius is the center of the galaxy. You're looking back into the galactic center, like right along the plane of the galaxy. And so this is really that kind of source of wisdom that we all experience, or that I should say, that source of power that comes to us emanates from the center of the galaxy. In fact, in Indian thinking, it's also called the Vishnu Nabi. There's a great story of how the universe was created through the navel of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnu Nabi, which is said to be actually in Sagittarius at the center of our galaxy. So this is a very potent source of energy and power, and it's also the axis along which the goddess Kali and Lord Shiva also populate those sections of the sky. Earlier in Sagittarius and Gemini, we have Shiva and Parvati, or Kali, there. So this is a very potent area. And of course, every full moon is a time to really try to harmonize where the sun is with where the moon is. And the sun being in Gemini at this time, and the moon being in Sagittarius, this is why, again, it's not written formally in the texts, but I believe that this is why this particular full moon is called Guru Purnima. This is the Purnima, or full moon, of the Guru, because usually this full moon is in Sagittarius. Sometimes it's in Capricorn, but it's usually in Sagittarius. That's when this particular Purnima happens. And again, Sagittarius, when we have a full moon in Sagittarius, the sun is in Gemini, which is where we're using our individual mind and sense of discrimination and sense of intelligence to try to figure things out, with the sun in Gemini. But then the moon, which is the heart and the integrative process, the way we integrate that faculty, and the need to harmonize that discrimination and intellect with its opposite, which is a sense of faith and a sense of higher wisdom, is really shown by the full moon in Sagittarius. Because Sagittarius, again, it's ruled by Jupiter, and it's related to teachings and things where we need to just surrender and understand that there's a bigger picture. And it means a bigger picture than what we can figure out intellectually. Now, these two poles of existence need to be harmonized, right? They need to be harmonized, because we can't just blindly trust, right? When there's too much Sagittarius energy, then we just blindly trust. We just have blind faith. And blind faith is not really going to give us spiritual growth. It gives us belief. It gives us religion, but it's not going to really give us spirituality, because spirituality is not just religion. You want to understand this, particularly as a Westerner. Most Westerners, frankly, don't understand this. They think, oh yeah, I'm spiritual. I believe this, or I'm reading this, or I've just always known that it's all this way. Okay, that shows a spiritual potential, but our mind wants to understand also how it works. And we need to figure things out and be able to explain them, be able to comprehend what it is that we believe. Otherwise, our teachings and our beliefs aren't really going to impact our life very much, at least not in a meaningful way. By the way, this is why you see a lot of religious hypocrites, why there's so much religious hypocrisy. People are great preachers and they're not very good practitioners, because it's very easy to believe something, especially if you don't really understand how it works. You can't really explain it. You were just raised that way and you just kind of believe it. But then when it comes right down to it, nothing really changes very much. You don't really think very much. And even as it relates to things like how someone might live their life. Like you might give lip service to all of the charitable works, or let's just use Christianity as an example. For example, Jesus, I believe Jesus was the savior and he was this and he was that, but then not really living as if Jesus would approve, like being greedy, not really helping the poor, not really putting any of it into practice. Again, you feel good about it and you believe it, but it's not really something that you understand. You can really explain all the complications around it. Like if someone were to question you about it, like, well, you say you're a Christian, but then you have these beliefs where you want to exclude these people or this, that, or whatever it is. And so when it comes to making a positive difference and making positive change in your life and something that's really spiritual, it might not really do that at all. So this is why this difference between Sagittarius and Gemini, again, it's this arc of extremes that are happening here. And the other extreme is the case when it's too much Gemini and there's too much information and details, and we think that that's the point, to just figure everything out intellectually. And that's what we're here to do, just try to figure things out intellectually, and where it's disconnected from a higher truth and a higher source of wisdom, that's also not very beneficial. And by the way, especially in this day and age, and particularly, I will just flat out say, people that even something like they believe in astrology, I put this in air quotes. Again, astrology is not a belief system. It's not a religion. Nobody should be believing in astrology. I don't believe in it. It's not my belief. It's not my religion. It's a practice. I do it. I actually apply it, which is the Gemini thing. Gemini is about noticing and actually being engaged with something because you want to figure it out, because you're curious about how the thing actually works. And many people now, particularly that believe in astrology or that listen to me or follow my stuff or whatever, they like to listen to me talk and all like that. And they like it. And, oh, yeah, that was really true. And, oh, yeah, I believe all that. And da, 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 da. But even people that try to do Vedic astrology, for example, but they have no desire or understanding of the teachings from which it actually comes. It's just a lot of information that they hope is going to help them, or that's going to benefit them on this, again, this like informational level. On this informational level. Someone said, what Vedic astrology books do I recommend? First, I recommend mine. I recommend both of mine, but you could start with this one. Yoga and Vedic Astrology. That's the one. Now go buy it. And in fact, I'm going to put a link in right now where you can buy both of my books for a big discount. So go buy them both right now. It'll be the best investment you make in your Vedic astrology education. Go buy them both. Great. By the way, if you look on Amazon for yoga and Vedic astrology on Amazon, you'll see about almost 60 reviews, very favorable, 5 stars. The same way with my other book, The Ascendant, 108 Planets of Vedic Astrology, same thing. So I recommend you buy my books. Thank you for the question. But the books are very much integrating all these details with how to practice, or the practice from which all of these things come. It's not just a bunch of information. It's not just a bunch of data. These are, this is a living tradition where it comes from the guru tradition, where these gurus have passed down this wisdom. Now, again, even in this context, sometimes people are too religious, though, even about things that come from gurus. What I've done and what I do and what good teachers should do is you read the source texts. And this is things I teach my students to do. You read the text, you actually read the source material, but then you practice what's in it. You don't just believe it, because everything that's in the texts, especially in all the text, all of it doesn't work in every context. For example, there's really only a couple of authoritative source texts in really any body of knowledge. Everything that was written a long time ago wasn't what's called a sastra or a reliable text. A lot of it was people just talking about stuff. Maybe there's some interesting things we can pick up, but there's really only 2 major Vedic astrology texts to focus your wisdom teachings around, and that's Brihad Parashara Sastra and Jaimini's Upadesha Sutras. Other texts are commentaries on those and are from the same origin, but you really have to start with those 2. But you don't just read it and believe everything. Again, that's also a problem. You need to then apply it and test it and see how it all works. And you'll also see the parts of it, once you do that, you see the parts of it that were probably brought in from other sources. Sometimes the texts are a little corrupted or other things like this. You can tell which parts are probably not original because they read differently and they don't test out properly. They're not as reliable. So again, there's all kinds of things that happen that once we start to engage along this Sagittarius-Gemini axis, all kinds of things happen. We don't just listen to somebody talking about meditation. We have to actually meditate at some point. You got to do it, right? You don't just have it inspire you. It has to be a practice. And this entire idea of this Sagittarius and Gemini axis usually comes to a head on Guru Purnima. So when we have this Guru Purnima here, again, this is where it's really that time to connect with this inner guru. And you can see this is Lord Shiva here, and he is the guru of the gurus. He's the yogi of the yogis, and the great Lord, also called Mahadeva, where we sit in wisdom. And we're not just looking for more data and more like, what about this? What about that? What about? I see there's always comments. It's why I don't really watch the comments when I do these things, because it's just a lot of, nobody's really listening to what I'm saying. They hear 2 words and then they just want to say a bunch of stuff, at least a lot of the time. Once in a while, somebody's actually paying attention, but usually It's distractions. And what the word guru means, and as you can see on this image, I also have Jupiter behind here. What the word guru means is literally it means heavy. This is one of the best words for guru is heavy. And think of what heavy means. Now, again, Jupiter is the biggest planet. It's the heaviest planet. But what Jupiter is as guru, as teacher, is that knowledge and that wisdom that has gravitas, that allows us to sink into the heart, actually. That wisdom that allows us to sink into the heart. And this is why Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, Rashi, because those teachings and those gurus can take us to the depth. And Cancer is the sign of the heart. And it shows how these great teachings always take us on this heart level. In fact, even our bad teachings connect us to the heart. I want you to understand that, and those of you who have listened to me and who have studied with me for a long time know what I'm talking about. Whatever it is that someone believes, whatever it is that they believe, is very deep in them, and they take it to heart. Everyone takes their beliefs to heart. Even if the beliefs are terrible, even if they're terrible beliefs, fanatical beliefs that want to kill other people and other kinds of stuff. You know, we live in a world now with a lot of violence and all kinds of things going on. But people do these things because of their beliefs. When you see things like people go on mass killing sprees and mass, and people do these terrible things, a lot of it is driven by their belief that this thing is going on or that thing is going on. So they might take an action based on that belief, but it's deep in their heart. This is why things are so dangerous right now in a lot of ways, because there's so many terrible teachings, so much terrible beliefs, so many terrible people, frankly, in public life that just prey upon others' fears, and they demagogue and propagandize issues so that they can get people to believe all of these negative, dark, scary things that will allow the people to stay in power or get more money or other kinds of things. Because evil people or people with evil intent have learned that if you can make someone believe something deep in their heart, then you have the deepest leverage possible. Then you can override their common sense and their faculties of discrimination, like I've been talking about. You can make them not make any sense. They will suspend all rational thought if you can make them believe something, even something irrational, and even something crazy. So again, this is how Jupiter and Sagittarius energy and whatnot really works. Is it takes these beliefs and these teachings and these gurus and goes deep in the heart, where we need to find good teachings, and we're aware of bad teachings in the world, our bad teachings. And it's a time for everyone. It's time for you and time for us to introspect about these things and notice the level and quality of the teachings in your life and the gurus in your life. So I'm really blessed to have found amazing gurus in this lifetime. I happen to have my Jupiter up here in Pisces in my natal chart. And the Jupiter in Pisces in my natal chart is, it gives me a very high standard where I can recognize those beautiful teachings and recognize when teachings are also not so good. And so my main guru, my main teacher is Amma, the hugging saint, at least at this point, and probably for many lifetimes, as this mother of compassion. You know, my gurus in this lifetime really changed. I started my first real guru was through the books of who he was later called Osho, but he was called Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh back then. I learned how to meditate, and I learned the philosophies like that Rajneesh would talk about. And they were amazing. Back in the early 80s, that was about all that was there, but it was really powerful, particularly if someone actually did the meditations as well and not just read all the philosophy. So I actually did the meditations and the philosophies. But this was at a time, this was in the early 80s, and all the teachings that were out there, I gravitated toward that really pure Indian teaching. I was also involved with music and drinking and all that stuff too, but I found those really pure teachings. And I recognized them as pure teachings back then and put them into practice. Didn't just believe this stuff. I had a few friends. There was a few of us who were really into Rajneesh back then. And I would talk about those teachings with a lot of them, but I was the only one that actually did the meditations. And I was the only one that actually really changed. Like, I stopped drinking. I stopped doing all kinds of things because of those teachings, because I was putting them into practice. It wasn't just enjoying all the interesting philosophy, because if you read Osho, as you probably know him, it's really fascinating. But it's all just mental chatter to some level. It's very helpful to let you understand things. And by the way, I'm talking about great teachings and great gurus in all contexts, not just my experience with Osho. But this should be your experience with astrology as well, your experience with anything. Any real teachings are going to have a quality of both great knowledge that is very Gemini-like, where the information and the knowledge that is shared is very precise and correct, and it's also going to inspire you, which is the Sagittarius principle. It's going to be it's going to be both. It's going to, and again, I say both because they're actually part of the same issue. You know, opposites have a symbiotic relationship with each other. It's like the Gemini Sagittarius lesson. And regardless of which end of the lesson you're on, it's actually the same lesson. It's really kind of the same lesson, just seen from a different point of view. Does that make sense? Because it's about balancing intellect and belief. Believing and understanding that there's something that you can't measure with your rational mind, but not getting so stuck in your rational mind that you lose the bigger picture. That's the arc of spiritual growth and knowledge, so that you're not just believing things, but you're also practicing them. And through your practice, you can also understand and make sense of your life. Because again, that's what happens when people get disconnected from the practical application and the making sense of the teachings. So this Guru Purnima, this cycle of Guru Purnima, is where we can really get the point of all the things that we think we understand, all the things and the gurus and teachings that we believe, and also where we can see how the things that we are believing are falling short. For example, again, a lot of spiritual people that say they're spiritual or they're involved in spirituality and whatnot, and I'm not saying that to knock anyone, like they say they're spiritual. What I'm saying, though, is that it's easy to think we're doing things that are spiritual when it's just that we're believing in something. But you're going to notice how those things that you believe aren't really changing things very much. And that includes, for example, people who are, again, I see a lot in who are Westerners who have gotten involved with things like yoga, even maybe, a yoga teacher, or very much they really understand all of this stuff, but it's all, very alignment centered, or, focused on postures, or, they understand about the breath, and they can own their way through anything. And there's, they intellectually they get it, and they've even studied with teachers, and they kind of hear what I'm saying, but actually they're completely like, frantic and stressed out completely about the world and politics and social structures. And really they're just very much just they're really not putting those deeper mystical teachings and practices into their life. And again, the mystical connection is lost. And again, I'm saying this is important now because Pisces is that mysticism, that mystical connection. It's that mystical quality of Jupiter that is very much a part of what is happening now. Even though the Guru Purnima happens with the moon in Sagittarius, again, which is very much more about our beliefs and that teacher and those teachings and the clarity it gives and the direction it gives our life. With Jupiter in Pisces right now, many people who even I have a strong practice, and I know this, and my beliefs are strong, and my life is on course, and all like that. I see a lot of people who are still, they're very disconnected from that mystical reality. And by the way, that mystical reality is beyond the world, beyond all the suffering of the world, and beyond all the political horrors that we're seeing now, and beyond all of those court decisions and all of that stuff, which is the Aquarius level. There's the next level, which is the mystical part. And many people are very hung up, not just in the world, but in their relationships and their money and their this, and they've lost that mystical connection to their teachings. And the mysticism is really what is transcendent. But it also requires a lot more of us. It requires us to surrender. Because there's a lot of this Sagittarius that's very in control. It's fiery. I believe it. I know. I'm confident. I'm strong. I'm capable. I'm this. I get it. Yes, I understand my teachings. And oh, yes. Da, da, da. But they're very much in the world. Very much of the world. Very much of their actions, their work, their identity, their intellect. And the hardest thing for any of us to do is surrender. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do is surrender. And what is it that you're surrendering? All that. All of that. And how much of your life revolves around all of that? All of your ideas, all of this identity, all of this stuff about where you're going and who you are and your work, and how much of your life revolves around all that? 99.999%. Surrender is surrender, letting go of it, that's not you. And mysticism, in the form of things like meditation, is bringing that in. The reason people can't meditate, though, frankly, is because they can't surrender, because meditation is surrender. All of the practices before meditation, like sitting and breathing and saying a mantra, these are all things that we're trying to get our ego to do, to get it to quiet down and shut up. That's not really meditation yet. Sitting with your eyes closed, breathing, and saying a mantra is a practice. It's something to concentrate on, called dharana. You're concentrating on something so that you can harness the ego. But eventually, when you reach a state of what's called samadhi, or real meditation, where you go beyond the ego, it happens because there's surrender. Because you have to surrender the ego. You have to let it go. Just like what happens when you go to sleep. When you sleep, the ego just wanes. It just disappears. It goes away. You surrender to sleep. Sleep comes and it overcomes you, your ego, your mind, your thinking mind. And meditation is very similar to sleep in that regard, except it's conscious and it's not sleep. It's wakefulness. It's awareness. But the surrender part is important. And these are big things right now for everybody, particularly if you find yourself being very stressed out and wondering why your teachings and all your beliefs and all your teachings and your practices are kind of failing you because of all the stress and horror of the world. This is a time to check and say, yeah, I need to surrender, and I need to cultivate that relationship with what's beyond. Like I was saying with me and my guru, my first guru was Osho or Rajneesh back in those days. And then I did those meditations for a long time. I really kind of got off it though, especially for, 5 to 10 years in the late 90s. And then my second real guru was Swami Shivananda. Swami Shivananda and Amma I met at about the same time. Swami Shivananda's teachings came in the spring of 2001. And then shortly thereafter, I met Amma, the hugging saint from India, also in 2001. But Swami Shivananda is the great yoga master. And again, as soon as I started to get those great yoga teachings, and it's not just yoga postures, it's not just the asanas, it's the breath, it's the mantra, it's the practice to awaken consciousness. As soon as I was exposed to those teachings, it was like, thank God I'm home. Yes, they're inspirational, highly inspiring. This is also when I learned Sankhya philosophy and all of the teachings of again, Sankhya philosophy, which is the same philosophy that underpins yoga and Ayurveda and Vedic astrology. But Swami Shivananda is a great yoga master, which teaches us how to live our daily life with these daily habits and routines that are, again, transcendent, that allow us to transcend just our ego and personality. And, when I talk about things like how much of your life revolves around your job, your ideas, where you're going, this is all of us. It's me too. I'm not outside of it. But what happens is when you do daily spiritual practice, when you do daily sadhana, is what it's called, and you sit and you breathe and you move the body and you activate the energy, because this is what yoga is. The reason yoga is so transformative is because you have a lot of energy in your body that that is not being unleashed in your body and mind, that is stuck. So hatha yoga moves that energy and channels it into higher dimensions. So then you go into the different layers of your being. You're not just a physical body. And if you're living as a physical body, all your energy is going to come from food and things like that. But that's the lowest, densest vibration of energy. You have much more energy available in your breath, in nature, in the sun, in all kinds of things. And just in the body, just in the energy that's latent. We eat food and then we sit on our butt and we don't even use the food as energy, hardly. The food we eat is bad for us. It's almost poisonous. So we don't even get a lot of energy from the food a lot of the time. It's just, to stop our stomach from growling. So the point is that yoga uses your bodies like a laboratory of consciousness to awaken consciousness on many levels. And again, once you do these things, then you understand how to meditate. You understand how people meditate then. When you don't, then it's like, I try to meditate, but I can't. Well, you're not doing anything, especially if you're also drinking alcohol and eating a lot of terrible food, and your lifestyle is totally all over the place, watch a lot of TV and a lot of stuff. Well, no, I mean, nobody meditates under those conditions. That's why it's a lifestyle and it's a choice. But understand, it's also a choice. You're choosing the life that you live. now. Whatever it is, you're choosing that state of mind, because you could change it. You could do yoga. You could do, you could change these things. When we're in a state of mind, we've chosen that, particularly adults in a developed country. And we choose it until we're fed up with it, which is usually what happens. And so again, this is real yoga, not the fashionable yoga that we see now, but real yoga masters. Swami Shivananda, he was full on like enlightened, an enlightened master. And I got the Shaktipat from that lineage. The man who gave me Shakti from that lineage got it from a direct disciple of Swami Shivananda. So Swami Shivananda gave Swami Vishnudevananda the Shaktipat, and then Swami Vishnudevananda gave Swami Swarupananda that, and Swami Swarupananda gave it to me. So it's not that far from that, what's called Shaktipat. And then my Guru Amma, who is my Satguru. The other gurus are also, they're also very powerful gurus which teach how to do things like yoga or meditate. But then the Satguru is the one that is your highest spiritual teacher. For example, I'm an astrology teacher, so for some, I'm their guru, I'm their astrology guru, and they can use that term, Siksha Guru and Diksha Guru. But I'm not their spiritual teacher, and I never want to be, and never proclaim myself to be. I'm a Jyotish Guru if someone wants me to be, and there are many for, to whom I am that. But I'm not their spiritual teacher. I don't advise them on their meditations and all that stuff. But my guru, my Sadguru, Amma, is an embodiment of all of those teachings, that higher wisdom, and those teachings anchored in the heart through her life of service, devotion, and immense spiritual power. She's the greatest yogi you've ever seen. Sitting in one place for 15, 20 hours at a time, not even going to the bathroom so she can hug people. Plus, the words she says are also just oozing with spiritual knowledge and wisdom, like the essence of every spiritual book. So to have such amazing beings on this earth right now, and to have access to them, is a great blessing that you have as well. You can access their teachings online and whatnot as well. But if you can, in any context, the greatest opportunity is to see them in person if you ever can. Because something happens when you're in their presence, because you're in a physical body. Seeing them in the physical body is also just a great blessing. So on this day of July 13th, that's the day of the Guru Purnima, the full moon, when we can really get who the Guru is, what the Guru's teachings are, how the Guru has changed our life, really anchor those teachings in the heart, re-devote ourselves to them. Now, again, I'm saying July 13th, but we're in the cycle right now. Everything is not, well, this day and then it goes away. No, this is a cycle. As I said at the beginning, it started when we had the new moon in Gemini. And now we're getting close. This is the last week as the moon moves toward Guru Purnima. This is a great time for this increased devotion. The moon moves into Libra the next couple days. Then it goes into Scorpio, where there's enormous potential for devotion as well. And then it moves into Sagittarius, where we feel that sense of inspiration and purpose, giving our life meaning and direction, and enormous gratitude. So again, as we said, as as I'm saying now, this Jupiter in Pisces makes this Guru Purnima even that much more powerful. That powerful status of Jupiter in Pisces is leading to a higher mystical truth. And what you also, again, might be sensing is that difference between what you think or hope your teaching should be giving you and what they really are giving you. Because it's very easy right now to be disconnected from the true meaning of our teachings. And it's very easy for us always to get stuck and tangled up in the world and lose ourselves in even just in the mundane life that we're living, lose ourselves in relationships. That's the easiest way. We lose ourselves and lose our spiritual path in relationships, in our work, in money. That's just in general. And then when the world starts having so many crazy things like we've seen the last few months with crazy shootings and war and crazy stuff with the courts recently, and so much contentiousness and stress, it's even easier to get disconnected and lose our way. So this week, as Guru Purnima approaches, reconnect and recommit to that mystical promise that is at the heart of your life, or should be at the heart of your life. You should be remembering that you're a spiritual being. That's your essence. Your essence is as a spiritual being. That's your nature. Your nature is not this body. It's not these thoughts. It's not this world. That's not your nature. That's a veil. And the veil is composed of 5 sheaths. By the way, I talked about this recently in a spiritual astrology course. The course was only $47. And I went over this in great, great detail. Someone asked, is Jupiter enemy status what remedy? Again, people ask me these kinds of things all the time. That's why I taught the course. I taught the course on this because people always ask me, what do we do about this? Or what do we do? What's the remedy? What's the remedy? I talk like I'm doing now, where I've said now for, I don't know, a half an hour. People will even say, oh, he's talking about yoga, talking about meditation, talking about this, talking about this. And then they say, what's the remedy? How about what I've just been saying? Teachings, meditation, yoga. These are remedies. These are the great remedies. They really are. Your remedy is not going to be say this mantra, have this gem, spend this money on this thing, have this priest do this thing for you. It's going to be your practices. Those are remedies. Those are the remedies. And that's what the practices are. And this nature to evolve beyond just our confusion and ignorance is really the reason we're here. And it's a rare opportunity now, not just to have Guru Purnima, but to have the Guru Purnima with Jupiter in Pisces, where we have all of this mystical potential. Because these words I'm saying can go deep now. They don't always go deep. Last year, Jupiter was in Aquarius and our mind was all over the place. Jupiter is in Pisces now. So Jupiter, the guru, is in that place now. And so the remedies for Jupiter in Pisces are what I'm saying. connecting to mystical teachings, putting them into practice, surrender, letting go. And by the way, you can't really recommend remedies for anyone until you know their chart. So people that would do that, it's not really the greatest thing to do. You should always be honoring your teachers and whatnot. That's just a general thing. That's not for any kind of planetary dignity, as the question was asked. So again, this is a very, very powerful time to go to the next level with your teachings. And again, one of the things, if someone did want to understand more about Jupiter, about Pisces, about these times, and know how these things are going to affect them more, especially based on your ascendant, and whether Jupiter is a natural friend or functional enemy or any kinds of things like that, you can get that. You can register for that free class. And again, it's going to be focused on Jupiter for each of the 12 signs, but also a recent history lesson, because again, it's very important to understand what happens when the planets move through the signs. It's important that people learn, at least it's important for me to teach. If you want to learn, I think it's important for people to actually learn what this stuff is and what it is they're looking at with astrology, rather than just believe it somehow. And again, also really to understand Jupiter as ruling these two signs. Also understand that Jupiter as the indicator or the karaka of these different things like children and teachers and whatnot. So I'll answer this question. How do we know who is guru in this life? Guru is the teachings that you're following. In many ways, it's just a very simple thing, Ruchia. Whatever it is that you believe, that's your guru. I'm not trying to be glib. I'm not trying to evade. I'm actually answering you more honestly than you might actually hear. I'm not going to say you should find a guru, blah, blah. You asked, how do we know? Everybody is following teachings. Everyone is following teachings. Your life is following something that you believe. We all have beliefs. You believe a whole bunch of things. You believe that relationships are this. God is this. The world is this. It means this. It all means that. You believe a whole bunch of things. And they came from people saying things and you thinking about them as well. Everything I just described in this video of where I was talking about Sagittarius and Gemini, your beliefs and what you're doing about it and how much and what you say about it and all, that's all happening. We all have those things. So we all have gurus. Again, if someone doesn't have you would say a Sat guru, like I mentioned, my Sat gurus, then you don't have that anchor in your life. You don't have that teaching, isn't at the center of your life. And that, that you'll see right now that your life is lacking those things. So you're probably asking questions exactly about what I'm speaking of here, which is you're probably noticing that you're not sure what your teachings are or what you believe or what's giving your life meaning and purpose. And again, that's a big part of what I'm saying is happening right now. So again, I'm just trying to be I'm just honest about these things when I talk about them. But this is also why I talk about it in a way that's real, in the sense that, many times people say, well, now is a time where you should get a guru and you should do this, you should do that. There's no should about it. It's always happening. And in moments like in my life right now, as Guru Purnima comes, I get more and more gratitude because I have such a powerful guru that is such a part of my life. It becomes so beautiful and meaningful. But if I didn't, and when I don't, then that lack becomes the point. that lack of having a teaching becomes a suffering that we have. So the thing that can be so powerfully positive when you have good teachings can be powerfully destructive or painful when you don't have the teaching. And this is because Jupiter is in Pisces trying to show you this. And instead, you could just feel like you want to just avoid and escape from the whole thing. And this is what happens with Pisces energy. When the thing is there, we just relax and surrender and trust. Relax, surrender, and trust that even though the world is a mess and I don't really know, I don't have it figured out, but I can surrender and relax and trust that it's all working out. That's what Pisces is about. And when we don't have that, then we can't relax, we can't surrender. And instead, what we do is we escape. We escape from the confusion and we escape into watching a lot of TV or maybe drinking and drugs and ways to tune out and escape from the reality that we are confused. It doesn't mean we're not still confused. It means that I understand the confusion. And the confusion is just on this level. But there's something much deeper, again, guru, deeper. There's something much deeper than my surface confusion. These great teachings that I surrender into. This is why Jupiter is guru, and those teachings are those deep anchors in our heart. So we still don't have it figured out, but because I don't have it figured out doesn't mean I have no direction. I still have direction because there's something much deeper that I'm so grateful for. If I don't have that, then I'm looking for it and it's not there. So as much as one person might be this grateful, this other person might be this much in escapist mode. So I'm going to leave it at that. And again, I hope this was helpful for people. And again, please, if you enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, and whatnot, because it also really helps. And you all take care, and thank you for